God, ads. Hey guys, starting a little early. Hope you don't mind. I'm excited. I can't help myself. Well, DL Hemingway is here. I'm looking at modifications of your rimfire Latigo possible. I'm going to wait for a few other people to join in and go through the ads and stuff that YouTube throws up there. Good evening. Howdy. Massachusetts. Thanks for staying up late. And I want to go right on record right off the bat and thank everyone who tunes in tonight to watch my live stream, because I realized on my way back up here to do this that tonight is the premiere of the new Star Wars series Andor on Disney Plus, and the first 3 episodes I think are dropping tonight. So I appreciate you spending a little bit of time with me. I know you can watch it anytime, but I feel like I'm kind of going up against Star Wars, so not necessarily expecting a whole bunch of people to show up tonight. But I'm glad you're here. I'm glad glad you guys made it. This here on my workbench, you're looking at tonight. This is the Boot Hill project for Gruesome Gulch that I've been working on, aka the Gruesome Gulch Cemetery. This is a removable piece that plugs into the rest of the layout. It was actually supposed to be done yesterday, and the video was supposed to come out. Will come out. The video will still come out Saturday, but I like to get it done a little bit ahead of time. Anyway, the video will still come out Saturday, but it was supposed to be done yesterday. But circumstances arose, were overcome, and still working on it tonight. I'm just about done. I just have to add the fence. There's a picket fence that goes around the outside, which is going to be kind of all falling down and broken and everything. Well, I got some questions already. Let's see. I'm going to start with DL Hemingway here. Good evening, Dave. I am looking at a modification of your rimfire and Latigo as a possible basis for my Kansas River in Southern. I may do it as just the fictional Kansas town of Meek, named after you. That's very kind of you. Thank you. I have a bay up at Lake Tahoe called Meeks Bay. Yeah, I claim it every time I go up there. So this is my bay. My wife has heard it a million times. Let's see. The boy, quick question. Do you plan to do any more O-scale Disney models like the ticket booth? I feel like that'd be a good series. I do. Probably not until next year. Yeah, I want to do some more little standoff, one-off projects like that, little builds like the ticket booth. There are several other ticket booths at Disneyland that I would like to do. The Casey Jr. ticket booth. Kevin and Jody did a collectible of that a few years ago, and they're almost impossible to find. I think it'd be really fun to do like a real scale model of it. I also want to do Fort Wilderness as it was on Tom Sawyer Island when I was a kid. That's a big one. Maybe even the castle. Who knows? The Haunted Mansion is a good one. It's just it's just time and money. it's just time and money. But yeah, I would like to do more of those. The Main Street Station, boy, no scale. The Main Street Station would be large. I'd have to find some plans for that. What's a Star Wars? I like Star Wars most of the time. Let's see. Ah, friend of Carter. Dude, you should totally do Fort Wilderness. That would be so, oh, man, that would be awesome. That's an inside joke. Scott Carter is a hilarious and wonderful individual, creator of the Cinnamon Creek Railroad, which you may have seen right here on this very channel. He has a channel too, I think, but he doesn't post very much on the YouTubes and or right. Anyway, I was reading that comment. Howdy from Southwest Missouri, former SoCal resident and friend of Carter. He's my mentor, and now I am learning from you. That's so humbling. I'm just a guy doing stuff, you know. Thank you. I appreciate you following along, and I hope you find the information on my channel valuable. Here's what I'm afraid of. I find that I'm afraid that it's disjointed, and people have to go like, you know, because I never have time in an individual video to show everything, because you know it's got to be under an hour usually. So um, the problem is, yeah, I have to skim over some stuff or assume that maybe you've seen it in another video, like this shack right here. This is a little. This is a good example. This is a little shack that I built for the Gruesome Gulch, and this is the Gravediggers Shack, and I just built it, you know, as it makes a nice transition between this piece and the Skull Butte piece, which is over here to the right, or will be. And you know, I didn't go into the build of this at all. I think I did a time lapse on it. Just, there, it's done. See, it only took, you know, 30 seconds when it regularly. This is like a day. So you know, I have to skim over things like that. What am I trying to say? I'm off on a tangent. I hope that you can find the information you need on my channel. I realize someone asked me once if I had an index, and it's like, that's a really good idea. If I ever can afford to hire an assistant, that's the first thing I'm going to have them do. Create an index of all the different techniques and builds and projects so people can easily go in and, you know, find what they're looking for. Anyway, Lakota, you know, I'm terrible at pronouncing people's last name. It is not my superpower. Lakota Tharuf? Did I pronounce that correctly? As you know, I'm working on a layout after your Peter Pan design. That's right, the Skull Rock and Neverland. Any tips on making palm trees? I'm doing the Casey Jr. ticket booth as a station. I'll send you pictures later. That's a great idea, Casey Jr. ticket booth. What scale are you doing it in? Are you doing an HON 30? I think you told me this. Um, palm trees. Plastruct makes some palm trees that you can order from them. Jimmy Powell, over at dirtspot.7 right here on YouTube, he has an excellent tutorial on making palm trees using feathers. Check it out. Go to his channel, dirtspot.7, or search James A. Powell, Monster City Studios, and yeah, he makes some of the best ones I've seen. I don't make palm trees, so I can't give you my own personal experience. That's not say I shouldn't say I don't. I haven't modeled any of them yet, but it could happen. Let's see. Oberon 85937. I played Oberon. This is a total tangent. In the Midsummer Night's Dream in high school. That's right. I was king of the fairies. Shakespeare. It's cool. Would love to see a model of the Haunted Mansion from the movie. Yeah, the Haunted Mansion from the movie. Do you have any animations in store for the graveyard in Gruesome Gulch? Here's the thing about Gruesome Gulch. It's being designed, it's like a dark ride, okay? So everything on the front side is just like a preview. And unfortunately, that's probably all I'm going to get done between now and Halloween, just between you and me. So there's not a lot. There's some lighting effects. You know, there's the Pepper's Ghost in the station. But all of the animation, all the wow stuff is going to be back inside the caverns. There's going to be a big animated scene with dancing ghosts and everything in a ghost town. Think the ballroom scene in Haunted Mansion. It's going to be done like that. There's going to be some digital projection effects, sounds, you know, all that stuff. So basically the front of the layout kind of sets the scene. It gets you in the mood, and then you come around the back, just like in a dark ride. You go into the show building, and then all the groovy stuff's back in there. Um, I want to have a couple of pop-up ghosts too. I'm working on a little cam mechanism that makes them pop up and down. Thank you. You're welcome. Howdy from Connecticut. Thank you, Ken. Paul, thank you. Greg Gilbert, hey Dave, I was thinking of turning the Jungle Cruise into a portable layout. Do you have any suggestions? Yes, don't use real water. That would make it super heavy. um, like a layout with like a train going around it, kind of like look to Tokyo for inspiration. Then they have the Western River Railroad, I believe it's called in Tokyo. They don't have a railroad that goes around the entire park. They have a railroad that goes around Adventureland and Frontierland at Tokyo Disneyland, and it goes around. It's actually like the station is like over the Jungle Cruise, which is just I find weird, but it's pretty cool. Uh, my advice for any layout starting out is keep it simple. I know, do as I say, not as I do. But yeah, keep it simple, keep it small. Um, don't try to model the entire ride. That's my best piece of advice. Pick the scenes that you really like, that you love the most, whether it's like the elephant bathing pool or the headhunters or the which aren't there anymore, or the boathouse and all that. You know, that's what I would do. Pick the stuff you really like and abbreviate it down, like do it as a greatest hits. Kind of this is it'll be immediately recognizable, and you'll be able to fit it into a reasonable amount of space that way. Dale Hemingway, what station would you recommend for the Rimfire Latigo? It looks like that's a small layout. Chris Bond's, the one I just did for Calico, because we don't have a kit that would work, because we haven't produced a station kit yet. But Chris Bond's, was it Last Chance Depot? Yeah, that I did for Calico would work really well. Full Circle Models is Chris Bond, and he's got a website. I believe it's kits at Full Circle Models. It's a WordPress site. Do a Google search. That's a great kit. Or you can find them on Facebook too. Paul Ullman, I love the Pepper's Ghost effect you did. I was chatting with Carter some years back to do one in G scale of a saloon. Yeah, and he was like, dude, you should totally do, oh man, you should totally do that. That would be so cool. Carter, if you're watching, I apologize for my my over the top impression of you. He's a sweet guy. Love him. Yeah, that would be cool. G scale. You can do it in 1/1 scale. That's I have a plan somewhere that I drew. I did some sketches to make a skull appear in a box, kind of like a Hatbox Ghost, using Pepper's Ghost effect. And one of these days, I'll probably do it. OO scale. Oh, that's yeah. Okay. Lakota says OO scale. That's HO scale in the UK, which is slightly bigger, runs on the same gauge track, but the trains are slightly bigger than American HO scale. It's not really 187. It's something else. Okay, cool. OO scale. Uh, I've been in the hobby so long that I remember when OO scale was poor man's narrow gauge, because you could use OO scale because you get some of those like a V&T Reno, they were OO scale. What was that manufacturer? IHC. Drawing a blank there. IHC Riverossi. And they were actually OO scale, so they were big. So you put them on an HO scale track, and you can use your imagination and think they're narrow gauge. Greg Gilbert, I have a copy of the Main Street Station blueprints. Ooh, both land and world. Oh, you have 2 copies. You going to build it? Either one? Drew Dougherty, after you work on the Halloween Ghost Town thing, maybe you should build the Western River Expedition. Oh my! I have to finish the riverfront here on Thunder Mesa. That's a project that's on the list. That's enough. That's my nod to the unbuilt Western River. It even says Western River Expedition on the boat. Good evening, Gerald. Glenn Hasdick. Hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Really enjoying your podcast. Are there more coming? I'm way behind on podcasts this year. But, as I always say, it is called the Thunder Mesa Limited. And I didn't mean for them to be as limited as they have been this year. But yes, in fact, I just spoke with my pal Jake Johnson, and he's going to be my next guest. He just got back recently from the National Narrow Gauge Convention in Seattle. So he's going to come on. I think we're going to record that this weekend. So it'll be out the following week. And we're going to talk about what he saw and experienced at the National Narrow Gauge Convention. And also, he wants to talk about the order in which you should do things in the model railroad. And this is really, really valuable information for people just starting out. I mean, I tend to bounce all over the place because I go where whatever interests me is. This is interesting right now. That's what I'm going to work on. But there actually is a preferable order of march, an order of the way you should do things. Obviously, if you have a purpose-built space or a space where you can build a model railroad and that you're planning to keep for a long time, things like the backdrop come first, and then the bench work, et cetera, et cetera. So that's one of the topics we're going to be talking about. So look forward to that. Like I said, recording it this weekend, probably going to drop next week, and I will let you know in all of the socials when that's going to come out. Dale Hemingway, isn't there an American oasis in the California desert? Yeah, Palm Springs. They have lots of palm trees. They're mostly date palms, which are not native. Yeah, the train from Animal Kingdom would be a very excellent choice for a Jungle Cruise ride. Oberon 85Nan37 says. I should put this up higher so I don't have to hunch over and read it. We figure new things out every time we do one of these live streams. I'm looking at myself. I look like Gollum. Hey, let's see. Norman Road Jungle Cruise boat in G-scale track floating through. Yeah, there you go. That could work. Or you could use the Magna Rail that they use for vehicles. You could use that for a Jungle Cruise boat. You could do something similar. You could pour. It'd have to be glassy smooth and perfectly level epoxy, or you could use glass as the water surface with paint the backside or put color underneath, and so something thin, and have the Magna Rail and then have the boats, and then you wouldn't have any track or anything visible. That's how I would do it if I was crazy enough to try something like that. I apologize to those of you. We started a little early, so those of you who are just joining, welcome. I was excited, and we started about 15 minutes early, but I'm glad everybody made it. Which brings me, I want to talk about time zones for a minute. It confuses some people that I advertise these these live streams as 7 p.m. Pacific, because as you know, I don't live on the coast anymore. I'm actually in Jerome, Arizona, which is on Mountain Standard Time. So some people have asked, well, why don't you just say, whatever it is, 7 o'clock Mountain Standard Time? Because because in Arizona we don't do daylight savings time. So a lot of people get confused by this. They get tripped up by it. It happens every single fall and spring. All the rest of the country changes their clocks. We don't. We don't change our clocks. We don't add more daylight. We got plenty of daylight here in Arizona. We don't need more. So we don't do daylight savings time. So rather than have and I was, rather than having to explain all that like I just did, I thought, well, I'll just do the math for everybody and say, we're going to do these the third Wednesday of the month, 7 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, which is going to end in November. So it's going to end. Nothing will change for you guys watching. It'll still be 7 p.m. Pacific Time, but I'll be doing it an hour later. So half the year we're the same as California, and the other half of the year we're the same as Colorado and Utah. Just to make it really confusing. I was just talking to Jake about this. He thought, I'm going to talk to him in a couple of days and do the podcast, and he's like, "Well, what time is it there?" Well, it's an hour. We're an hour earlier right now than Colorado is, but we're the same time as California. It's confusing. See, if we lived on a flat planet, we wouldn't have to worry about this as much. Let's see. Yeah, Tim Clock. I guess there's a time difference between Riverside, California, and Jerome. Thought I was early. Sorry. Yeah, like I said, we started a little early. I apologize to those of you who actually showed up on time. I saw there was 8 or 10 people waiting. I thought, well, what the heck? We'll go ahead and start. Anzo Borrego, yes, also has some palms. Ron Pescal, do you and Jake have anything in the works for Crescent Creek Models? We have lots of things in the works for Crescent Creek Models, and I wish we had time to get them out to the market. We need to hire somebody, I think, if we can afford it, to do that for us. The next thing, which has been ready to go for a while, it's just waiting on me to write the instructions and get that going, is the Tombstone, Arizona Birdcage Theater in HO scale. We also have, hold on, where did I put those? These little coffins, which I designed for Gruesome Gulch, and those are going to be a kit. I just need to write the instructions for those too. That's what takes the most time, is writing the instructions and figuring out the package. It's time consuming. So yes, there are new things in the works, and we'll let you know. I wish I could give you a more firm answer as to when those are kind of going to come out. I would really, really, really like to get the Birdcage Theater out this fall sometime. What'd you miss? Nothing. You didn't miss anything. We talked about the Jungle Cruise. We talked about other things that I might model at Disney, at Disneyland, classic things. But those of you joining us at the proper time, you didn't miss anything. And apologies to those of you who were here earlier whose questions I answered. They did miss some good stuff. Let's see. Limited just makes each one more valuable. That's right. That's what I like to believe. It makes it more valuable for each podcast. So I'll be lucky to do 6 this year instead of 12. By the way, the live stream. I know when I first started this, I'm like, well, I got excited. We could do this every week. I don't think anybody wants to see me talk every week. So unless I'm actually building something. So I decided the third Wednesday of the month was probably the best time to do it. So here we are. It's going to be the third Wednesday of the month, 7 p.m. Pacific time, unless I start a little early. And I apologize for that. Let's see. Otter Creek and Rio Grande. Great name for a railroad, by the way. I love a good freelance railroad name. That's a good name. Otter Creek and Rio Grande. Looks like Dave has been busy burying people. I have been busy burying Oskill people. Yes. Actually, we just moved the headstones. We didn't move the graves. Name that movie. Hi, Grant. How you doing, man? Oberon 593. Oberon asks, I wonder if you could make a model railroad based off the Tower of Terror. Ooh. The streetcars would be obvious, but doesn't seem enough. The Tokyo version with the elevated railway, the American waterfront, the one at Disney Sea, that would be the one to model, in my opinion. Randy Summershoot. Hi, Randy. Yes, you could use an acrylic sheet for the water. That would work. You just want something smooth and level and not too thick for that the magnetic thing to work. Lynn McCurdy. Hi, Lynn. Wish we didn't have to change the time. You voted on it, but still. Don't get me started on the wisdom of daylight savings time. I met a woman one time, hand to God, and only in Sedona, Arizona would you find this. Met a woman in Sedona, Arizona, who actually believed that the reason we set our clocks, and I could not convince her otherwise, the reason we changed our clocks was because the Earth actually somehow magically moved forward an hour. I kid you not. This was an honest belief and a failure of our education system, in my opinion. A Native American man said, only a white man would cut a foot off the bottom of his blanket and sew it to the top of his blanket and think he had a longer blanket. That's daylight savings time. I don't know how we got on this topic. McGo Jobs. I am working on the Gnome Gauge Railroad. Ooh, that sounds fun. I want to do something like that. Problem is I'm running out of room here in the studio for little side projects. Once Gruesome Gulch is done, I got an idea for a castle themed railroad. It'd be smaller than Gruesome Gulch, basically just a round circle, kind of the size of Robert's Typhoon Lagoon, not very big, but there'll be a castle on one side. There'll be a backdrop down the middle, and so on one side there'll be this castle with a dragon down in the dungeon with smoke, and maybe his head comes up and stuff, kind of like the one in Sleeping Beauty at Disneyland Paris. And then on the other side, there's a forest, like an elven forest that it all goes through. So kind of a high fantasy Lord of the Rings type railroad. And of course, everyone knows that in that kind of world, the people that run the trains are dwarves. This is not up for debate. Elves don't run the trains. Dwarves. Okay, and maybe orcs, depending on the railroad. Hi from Michigan. Hi, Jeff. Chris, you almost missed again. You didn't miss anything. Drew Dougherty asks, I was also wondering, have you added people, characters on Thunder Mesa? Oh, you mean actual humans? Yes. I have Tuco, Angel Eyes, and Blondie from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And those are offered by Knuckle Duster Miniatures. And you can find a link to them on my website. Just go to the Thunder Mesa Studio, the Model Railroad Shop tab. Click on that, very bottom. there's useful links. Click on that, and there'll be a whole page of different links, scratch building materials, laser materials, figures, all that kind of stuff. Knuckle duster miniatures, chef's kiss. Highly recommend them. Yeah, I've got a Clint Eastwood figure. I haven't painted him yet, but I've got the other guys. I also have. Hold on. I probably showed you this before. If you're a fan of Blazing Saddles, this was given to me by Bob Kerner. This is also from Knuckle Duster Miniatures. Can you see that? That's Mongo. Mongo no not know where the train go. Mongo only pawn in game of life. Riding his ox. So yes, there are some actual characters, some from movies. I have a John Wayne figure, which I haven't painted yet. Just like the Clint Eastwood, also from Knuckle Duster. This guy, also from Knuckle Duster. I don't know if he's available any longer. And then some that I make up and paint and give him names and little backstories. It just helps me come up with a paint job, actually, for him. Lynn McCurdy, I came in early a couple of times, thought this was an old show. Yeah, they all look the same. Maybe I should change locations so you're not always looking at my dirty shop here. We can do it one time with the trains in the background. Maybe next time I have to figure it out where to put the camera and all that, but we might be able to do that. Make a video putting the birdcage together and that's your instructions. Yeah, I have to do both though. I have to do a video and I have to actually write and lay out and print the instructions. I'm a graphic artist by trade, so I have to, I know how to do it. It just takes time. Yeah. Not everybody can follow along on a video. Oh, David Simon. What are we looking at? Hi, David. What are we looking at the workbench? That's what you missed. I was talking about this in the first couple of minutes before 7 o'clock. This is the cemetery for Gruesome Gulch, Boot Hill, if you will. And this is what I've been working on this week. This is the next build video that's coming out. Wanted to give you guys a preview of it. Yeah, that's what you're looking at right now. I've been working on it steadily for about 4 days. This is about 4 days of work right here. I thought it was going to be done today, but it's going to take 5 days to get it done. I still have to build the fence around the outside. Here, let me show you that. Hold on while you're here. It warped a little bit while I was staining it, so I stacked books on top. Let's see how this came out. Ah, nice. Nice and flat. This is picket fencing, laser cut picket fencing, which is going to go all the way around, or most of the way, about 2/3 of the way around the graveyard. So that has to be finished. This might be a kit, by the way, if anyone's interested in that. Make sure they're flat. That's 1/32 of an inch thick basswood, so it tends to warp when you stain it. George, Sarah, your Gruesome Gulch passenger cars are awesome. Will they eventually be made into a kit? That would not be too difficult. The problem is I need to take like 6 months off and just get caught up on the kits, but then there wouldn't be any videos. Can't wait to see the Birdcage. It's going to be cool. Jake did if you go to Facebook and the Crescent Creek Models page on Facebook, Jake, I'm Dave, he's Jake. Jake did the pilot model for the Birdcage, and it is beautiful. So is every one of those tombstones engraved with a pun or rhyme? Yes. And here's the cool part. They're all different from the ones that are on the Thunder Mesa layout. I wanted to do totally different. There's one that's kind of the same joke. It's repeated, but it's not the same wording. So yeah, I came up with all new limericks. Some I robbed off the internet. I found it in a search. Funny, funny tombstones. But yes, they are all in there. Not all of them are 100% legible. I mean, I had to use like 4-point type um, for them to be close to scale. So you need some good readers to be able to read some of them. Here's a fun fact. Um, I was talking with my patrons on Patreon last week, some of whom are here today, and I asked for volunteers if they wanted their names on tombstones in Gruesome Gulch. So several of these along the front row are Patreon patrons. Um, there's one of my favorites is Jim Manley. Um, uh, Here's the remains of Manly Jim. We couldn't find the rest of him. You know, that kind of stuff. So that's that was a fun thing to do. Also, I wanted to make some of the tombstones, and you'll see this when this video comes out. On the Thunder Mesa layout, they're all wood. They're all like wooden grave markers like you see in Tombstone, Arizona. I wanted this one to have more variety and have some tombstones that were actually made of stone, so carved stone. So these are all like laser cut and etched and then painted to look like stone. And I'll be showing all of that. Mineral King Railroad Photography Boot Hill looks great. It looks even better over on the land. I can't wait to show you guys. Thank you. Poltergeist, yeah. Am I going to make Greg Gilbert? Dave, are you going to make a custom locomotive for the Gruesome Gulch? Yes. Hopefully there'll be time for that. I have a little 040 Porter that I've been using, and I want to do some custom paint and decals and a new cab for it. Very gothic looking, and he's going to be there's the driver's going to be a skeleton. The engineer, which I got from Mini Prints, which you can also find a link to on my website in the Useful Links tab. Jason Jensen. Hi, Jason Jensen. We have a celebrity here, folks. Jason Jensen has entered the chat. Nice to see you, Jason. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. I can't believe you're not watching Andor tonight, because I know you're a fan. Maybe you already did. No spoilers. By the way, anyone who has already seen Andor, no spoilers, okay? You will be banned. There's Jim. Hi, Jim. Jim Manley's here. Mineral King. Oh, yes, Brian. Hi, Brian. I knew that. Mineral King Railroad and photography. It's the photography that threw me off. Mineral King Railroad and photography. I know yours is the Mineral King Railroad. Brian, you have a headstone here too. I forgot what yours says. Let's see, it's in the front here. Ah, Brian Hagebrush, ambushed in the sagebrush. Had to. Drew Dougherty, what other states in the Southwest United States don't use daylight saving times? None. Arizona's the only one. I think it was Arizona and Illinois didn't do daylight savings time. But yeah, all the rest of them do. New Mexico, Nevada, Texas. Yeah, all the rest of them are on daylight savings time, which ends in next month or November. I may be showing my age, but I believe there was a famous model railroader who named locations on his layout after locations in The Lord of the Rings, Ronald Walters says. I seem to remember that too, but I cannot remember the modeler's name? Anybody know? Tim Clock. I fell in love with ON30 because of Thunder Mesa. Thank God. That's why I do it. That's why I keep doing these videos and stuff. That's why, I love sharing it. I love sharing the passion for the hobby with everybody, um, and the fun side of it. So when I see something like that, it's like, oh, that's nice. That makes me feel good. Thank you so much. I sold my HO stuff. I hope you got a good price for it. And hope to build an ON30 layout soon. I've seen probably all your videos so far. Keep up the good work, sir. Thank you. Yes, I intend to. I'll keep making them as long as you guys keep watching them. Dave, Lakota, have you heard of the 7 1/4 Scamp locomotives? If not, do look them up. Very impressive little engines. Plus, I have to have one. So again, I'll send you pictures. Yeah, send me pictures. I'd love to see it. Gnomes run the trains. They are the engineers. So gnomes. There are no gnomes in Tolkien. Sorry. Sorry, Otter Creek and Rio Grande. I got to call you on that one. As a Tolkien aficionado, I have to say that there are no gnomes in Middle Earth. There are dwarves, there are men, there are elves, there are hobbits, and there are orcs and trolls, but no gnomes that I'm aware of. So, Carrie Hawker, any plans to release the Indian Trading Post No Scale? Plans, yes. A timeline, no. Randy Summershoe. Oh, Randy, that's a great question. If you were able to model Disneyland, what decade would it be? Oh, it's not up here. It's over there. Some of you have seen the Disneyland map that's up in my. It's from 1967. So the late 60s is what I would model. Late 60s, early 70s. So there's that way you get the Haunted Mansion, which opened in '69. But you still got Nature's Wonderland, which was there until '76, I believe, is when it closed, 1976. And you've got Space Mountain, which was in development at that time. So yeah, that's the era I would model, and the classic '69 or '68 Tomorrowland with the People Mover and all that. So yeah, '68, '69. That's what I would do if I had room. If I was going to do something crazy like that, by the way, that would take up a lot of space. I hate Dave McGoujobs. I hate to say it, but I think dwarves mine and manufacture the heavy bits, and gnomes run the trains and do all these. There are no gnomes in Tolkien. If it's not Tolkien, you can have gnomes. Gizmology. I love the word gizmology. I'm going to start using it in my day-to-day conversation. Let's see. Ronald Walters. I have Blazing Saddles and Young Frankenstein. Watch each about every 2 or 3 months. I watch Blazing Saddles about once a year, and also Young Frankenstein once a year. That's our Halloween movie. We always watch Young Frankenstein on Halloween night at my house. That's always fun. Stay close to the candles. The stairs can be treacherous. Well, my wife and I would quote that movie back and forth all the time. It's hilarious. That fence and O-scale would be wonderful. Yes. As a kit, yeah, I kind of laid it out as if it was going to be a kit, but I do that a lot. So we'll see what happens. Will you do a wagon hearse? Yes, I have one for Berkshire Valley Models. It's actually going to be down in front of the Undertaker's shop. There's an open area right there, kind of like the one that's in front of Haunted Mansion. There's going to be a hearse there in front of the Undertakers. Love to see the hearse gag from all those. Yeah, with the invisible horse. Another graveyard. Oberon says another graveyard that might be fun would be the Plague Graveyard in Tonopah, Nevada. I love Tonopah. Beatty. Not sure if it would work without the creepy clown hotel. Anybody? Show of hands. Anybody stay? Has anybody stayed at the clown hotel? I couldn't do it. It's too creepy for me. It's ghosts and goblins and gore and all that stuff. I have no problem with clowns. Nah, I don't like clowns. Howdy, Bernard. Hi, Bob. Yes, a graveyard. For those of you just tuning in, this is Boot Hill Graveyard, or as the locals call it, the Gruesome Gulch Cemetery. And this is going to be the next build video coming out probably Saturday on the YouTubes, a little earlier for Patreon, but Saturday on YouTube. No gnomes in Middle Earth. That's a D&D, I guess. Yeah, Dungeons and Dragons. That's a whole different layout. A Dungeons and Dragons layout. I've shared this with a few people. I don't know if I've mentioned this before. One thought, a layout I thought would be really cool. I have a belief that different scales are good for different things, depending on the kind of story you want to tell. I would love to do, well, I don't know if I want to do it myself, but I would love to see it done and done well. So here I'm throwing this idea out for free because I'll probably never live long enough to do it. Is a Gotham City at night with an N scale, streamlined train. You get and little scenes of the Batmobile and the Joker and things happening and all the lights and the bat signal up in the sky, but it's always dark in this world. It's always nighttime in the Gotham City layout. That would be fun, and N scale would be perfect for that because then you could do the tall buildings and everything. Dick Knotts, that's who it is. The Troll and Elfin, that's the one. Thank you, Ocala Creek, for that. Possum Bayou. I've considered a steampunk garden railroad populated by gnomes. There are so many possibilities. See, with ON30 and I see a lot with the large scale G scale guys. Let your imagination run wild. If the story appeals to you, then you have my permission, like you need it. Do it. That sounds a lot of fun. Ian, you've made it. What time is it in Australia right now? Thanks for tuning in. Frau Bluka. Okay, it's all going to be inside jokes with Young Frankenstein now. Ocala Creek, our Halloween tradition is Nightmare Before Christmas. Yeah, that's a good one too. Hey, Robert. Typhoon Lagoon Railway is here. Damn, I forgot about this. What did I miss? You missed so much. You missed so much. We were talking about modeling palm trees earlier, and I was wishing you were here to answer the question properly, but I referred the questioner to James Powell's excellent video on modeling palm trees with feathers. Also the ones from Plastruct. Hobbits can't run the trains. They're all passed out from the cheese and ale. It's going to smell in there. Hi, Clyde. Good evening from Tennessee. Ian, yeah, Ian does a lot of fantasy stuff on his layout. Saying he did the D&D layout many years ago. Lots of dwarves and even a dragon, yeah. Grim Reaper Railroad. That's kind of what I'm doing here, sort of. Norman Rowe. Having a darkened N scale would be good. You can't see the detail anyway. Oh, sick burn against the N scalers. Sorry, Robert. I was just thinking because of the size of the buildings, but that's true too. 12:30 p.m. Yeah, that sounds about right. John Busby says narrow gauge trains already go to the Shire. It was built by dwarves. That makes sense. See, that's what I said. Dwarves, mining. It just seems to fit. Yes, the New York Central. That's what I was thinking of. Streamlined New York Central style train for Gotham City. Jay Christensen. Good point. What is decopunk? I'm familiar with steampunk and cyberpunk and dieselpunk, but I've never Oberon. I've never heard of decopunk. What is that? See, he says if I had a chance, I'd build a layout done up in decopunk with a broad gauge train similar in idea to the Weissbrabahn. Ryan Gallagher says, thanks for the shout out for Beatty. I love Beatty. Really appreciate your video insights and process as I've started making my kits. I'm really glad that you do. I'm glad that you're enjoying it. Yeah, I love that part of Nevada. And I tell you, if I wasn't, building models and stuff, uh, I might do what Justin Scard does and do like travel videos because I love to travel too and go to different towns and talk about. The problem is I'm really shy. I know it's hard to tell, but I'm really shy. It's really hard for me to walk around with a camera in public and talk about stuff. I did the one at Disneyland where I'm doing all the trains, and I felt so self-conscious. I don't know how David and Adam, the Woo, and Justin, and all those guys do that because it's like you feel like everyone is staring at you. You're standing there, you're alone, you're talking to yourself into a handheld camera. It's just weird. It'd be fun to do though. The travel videos are fun to do, and Beatty is definitely one I would do if I ever run out of projects here. David Simons, Dave, you and Jason should collaborate on a split build diorama. Mail it back and forth and complete sections of the model for each mailing. But what scale would it be in? Jason works in HO and I work in O scale for the most part. I mean, I can work in HO too. I'm sure he can work in O scale. So that might be fun. That'd be something to talk about. I'm up for it, Jason. What about you? Jim says if the dwarves do the mining, then Snow White has to run the locomotive. That's right. Day of the early years. Oh, Oberon. Decopunk is like diesel punk, but focuses more on the clean, streamlined aesthetic. So like Art Deco. Right. So 1930s, Brave New World, that kind of thing. Gotcha. That would be cool. I love that look. Terry Hooper, gratitude for you and your videos, the hard work. Thank you. Appreciate that. Recently discovered your channel last month and doing due diligence before I make the serious investment into the hobby. Starter set recommendations. Oh, well, now's a good time. If you want to start with like a train set, and that's not a bad way to go because you get a lot of bang for your buck. If you're doing ON30, it's really hard to go wrong with the Bachmann Mogul sets if they're still available. The Bachmann Mogul, and they had two sets. One was a freight, and one was a passenger set. Colorado and Southern, Rio Grande, Denver, Rio Grande. You get some coaches, you get some track, you get a locomotive that runs fairly well. You get a power pack, you get your feet wet, and that's the way to go. Walder's always comes out with a whole bunch of train sets this time of year, right before the holiday season. So depending on what scale you want to go with, you should check them out. Norman, King Kong. Right. That'd be a great diorama. King Kong on the Empire State Building, the raised L train, and you could have the biplanes flying around, motorized. Ian's building mines right at the moment. Have 6 of them. Have several diesels driven by dwarves. See? Ian knows dwarves run the trains, not gnomes. I'm going to do a box with a working mine. That's cool. Yeah, a lot of crazy cool places still in Nevada. D.L. Hemingway, on the D&D themed, there ought to be a Forgotten Realms themed railroad. My version would be the Neverwinter and Waterdeep. See, the possibilities are endless. You find a story or a genre that you like, that excites you, then that's what you should do. There's there's a lot more to model railroading than building a miniature transportation system. There, yeah, I know. I thought of that while I was saying it, David. Do O scale for the low level and HO up above for force perspective. Now it's getting big. So like a 20th century limited Burlington Zephyr type aesthetic. Exactly. Ryan Gallagher, love to have you visit with Gruesome Gulch during our Beatty Days, always the last weekend in October. Shameless plug. Yes, Beatty Days, last weekend in October. If I could make it out there, I would, but I'm going to be here the last weekend in October. That's when I'm premiering Gruesome Gulch is on the 29th of October, and it should be about half done. As usual, I bit off more than I can chew. It'll eventually be all done, but it'll look good. Let me put it this way. It'll look good on Halloween weekend. Jason Jensen, I hope you do a laser cut nameplate for the new layout. You love the one I did for the big the Thunder Mesa plaques. That's a good idea. It's going to look like a coffin that's kind of been cut away to form the profile boards, and there's going to be brass handles around it. And it's going to be sitting on a pedestal, a black pedestal with a wreath, a memorial wreath, rest in peace, on the on the bottom, just like it's like laying in state. So I'm trying to think where I could put the name. I could etch it, make it like a brass plaque. Instead of round, I could make a long brass plaque like that. Gruesome Gulch. That's a good idea. I'm stealing that, Jason. Use a creepy font. I have a whole folder full of creepy fonts. I have a folder full of Disney fonts. I have a folder full of creepy fonts. I have a folder full of Old West fonts, futuristic fonts, fantasy fonts. I got them all. Bear Republic. We've had this conversation before. 24-inch gauge for hobbits, 30 inches for dwarves, 36 for humans, meter gauge for elves, and standard for orcs. I can't argue with that logic. Metropolis, yeah. Decopunk. That's what I was thinking of. I said Brave New World. I was actually thinking of Metropolis. That's the movie I was thinking of. Oberon 85937. Yeah. Anyone have D.L. Hemingway recommends the Bachman East Broad Trop set um, as a train set recommendation. Anyone else have a good train set recommendation? Broad gauge for the ogres. Yeah, that's the other one. Maybe that's the one I was thinking of instead of Brave New World. Was Things to Come, 1930s movie, very Art Nouveau. Art Nouveau and Art Deco, a little bit different. If the best way to remember, because this fits right into the topic that we're talking about, like what kind of what kind of trains would they have in Middle Earth and who would drive them. You watch the Peter Jackson films, Lord of the Rings. The dwarves are Art Deco. Their design is Art Deco, angular, geometric, and the elves are Art Nouveau, which is very flowing and florally, and lots of curvy lines and stuff like that. So that's the best way to tell the difference to most people. Tim Clock. It'd be cool if you could obtain an old hearse to transport your Gruesome Gulch layout. It is complicated. That would be great. Um, that's a little outside the budget for this layout. Uh, to get a purpose built hearse to drive it around in. But it does fit in the back of my Grand Cherokee, which I made sure it would. I have to put the front seats up a little bit, but it will fit. Jim Manley, what would be the starting point for a diorama for Jason and Dave, futuristic or 1890s? Jason hasn't agreed to do it, so he doesn't want to commit. Neither do I. Neither one of us have the time. It sounds like a fun thing to do, but if we could come up with the time, that would be fun. 1890s. Yeah, I would like to see what Jason does in if you're still there, Jason. I'd like to see what Jason would do in my backyard, my wheelhouse, which is 1890s. 1880s, 1890s, that area. The stuff he models is very, kind of East Coast, American waterfront, 30s, 40s, 50s transition era, uh, you know, which is beautifully done. I'd like to see what he'd do with the Old West. That would be fun. Jim, mech robots walking around the Old West. That was the Will Smith Wild Wild West movie. the the steampunk Wild Wild West. Oh, good question. Robert wants to know if Jim's going to build a layout. Jim's been working on something in ON18, I think. Otter Creek and Rio Grande. I was thinking there were ogres in Middle Earth. No, there are no ogres. You might be thinking of trolls. There were trolls in Middle Earth, but no ogres. At least there was nothing called an ogre in Middle Earth. There's orcs and there's goblins, which there's some debate if orcs and goblins are the same thing. Um, and there are there are trolls. People tuned it in tonight. We're going to be supposed to be talking about trains. We're over here talking about orcs and goblins and trolls. Randy Summers, you and Jason could do something from Back to the Future 3. The barn with the DeLorean hidden inside. I've thought about something like that. I have to find an O-scale DeLorean. Watch your language, Robert. YouTube wanted me to hide your comment because you used the S word. I'll let him show it. It's like I tell my kids, there are no bad words, there are only inappropriate circumstances. The Wild Wild West. Yeah, the train, the Wanderer in the Wild Wild West. Looking back on it, I loved that show when I was a kid, Wild Wild West. Me and my friends, we used to play Wild Wild West in the backyard. I always wanted to be Artemis Gordon because he was the smart one. And but the train, the Wanderer, I always wanted a train like that. That was so cool. That was filmed on the Sierra Railroad, I believe, wasn't it? The clock tower, yes. Yeah, make sure all the wreath flowers are dead. Yeah, I've been shopping for a good funerary wreath. There's some good Halloween themed ones that you can get. Some of them are kind of hokey. I want it to look like a real funeral wreath, not a Halloween decoration. And that's a subtle difference. I might have to end up making my own. In which case, we'll have an episode on flower arranging, which which is something I haven't done on the channel before. Uh, this is kind of fun. I didn't really have a topic in mind for tonight. Last month we talked about laser cutters a little bit, and kind of went off on a tangent. This one is just all over the place. I think the topic for tonight is you know uh, trains and tigers and trolls. Oh my! The Adams family. Robert says the Adams family and the Munsters should be part of this conversation. Someone should do. Here's an idea for we're throwing out freelance ideas for layouts. Here's one somebody should do: a 60s golden age television layout. You got Mayberry, you got Green Acres, you got the Adams family, you got the Munsters, you got the Bewitched neighborhood. Have a train that goes to all of those places, or pick any one of them. It could even go to Gilligan's Island. That would be fun. Jim says, buy the wreath now and leave it in the back of the Jeep until Halloween. Then, yes, the flowers will be dead. 1-800 Clyde. Dave, you're going to have to get yourself a pallbearer outfit. I have, from back when I used to do SAS stuff, I have a black frock coat, a 19th century black frock coat, wing collar shirt, the pants, the boots, the whole outfit, the vest, everything. So it's kind of similar to the Haunted Mansion costumes that they wear at Disneyland, except instead of a green vest, it's red. So yes, I have that. Mr. Ed, thank you, Mr. Ed. Yes, you gotta have that, Mr. Ed, in that. Norman says live chats always find their own subject. Ain't that the truth? Petticoat Junction. Jake did a thing as a commission for a client. He did the Shady Rest and the water tower and everything. It is really cool. Yeah, Jake Johnson did that. Get smart. Stop. Hogan's Heroes. The Twilight Zone. Yeah, now we're back to the Tower of Terror theme layout. And again, if you're gonna do Tower of Terror, you got to do the American waterfront from Tokyo Disneyland. That would be cool. John Busby, black roses might look good on the wreath. You can get a good looking one. Yeah, that's probably what we're going to do. Probably silk flower, not real roses. Um, but yeah, something with black roses and black sticks and bones and something spooky and dead looking. Well, guys, is there anything else you want to ask me? Any questions you have for me at the studio tonight? We're going to do another one of these. It's going to be the third Wednesday in October, which is going to be here like that. I don't remember what the date is for that. Somebody look it up for me. But before we wrap this up tonight, any other questions you want me to answer? You want me to answer thoughtfully or make something up? When is my next open house? Thank you for reminding me. You know, I have the little notes that I'm supposed to use for these things, and I haven't been looking at them. My next open house is October the 1st. That's Saturday, October the 1st from 2 to 6. And then another one after that. We're going to have 2 in October. The second one is at the end of the month, as I already mentioned, on the 29th. And that is going to be in the evening. It's an open studio night. And we're going to go 4:30 to 7:30, I think. And it's going to be dark in the studio. I mean, well, it's going to be nighttime. It'll be nighttime on the Thunder Mesa layout with all of the structures lit up and the crickets chirping and the sound effects and the moon out and all that stuff. And it'll be night over on Thunder Mesa or Gruesome Gulch, naturally. Oh, I know what I want to show you guys. I'll be right back. Stay right there. Where the Gruesome Gulch is, it's up in the front of the studio. There's a little what I call flex space, which I put different things in there. It changes all the time. Right now it's Gruesome Gulch. And one thing I've been wanting to do for a long time is add some RGB tape lights. So that's what I'm going to do. This is going to be an upcoming project on the channel here. I'm going to install these. I'm going to put in a little, the way to do it is you put them in down below the level of the layout. So down on the wall down here on a little shelf pointing upward with a little baffle in front, so you can't actually see the lights, but the lights shine on the walls or backdrop or whatever. And then you can change the colors. You can make it, you know, blue and spooky or red and sunsetty or whatever you want. You make it any time of day you want. So that's this is a project coming up for Gruesome Gulch. That's not going to travel with it when it goes to other places, but that'll be where it sits when it's here. Hey, my wife's here. Andor. Gotta go. Hi, Nina. How to make the big succulent plants. John Busby wants to know, how do you make the big succulent plants that are often in spaghetti westerns? Yes, I have an idea on that. There's a product, it's from a company called Rail Scale Models. I assume you're talking about the big agaves and stuff. Cacti you can get really good looking small cacti and prickly pear cacti from is it Pegasus? Wait a minute. Wait. I'm drawing a blank. I'm having old timers. I think it's Pegasus scale models. Yeah. And Rail Scale Models makes laser cut agave plants that you assemble yourself and paint, and they're designed by Travis Hanchug, who does the fantastic saguaro cacti you may have seen. And, and that's what I use to model those yuccas and agaves, which are all over the Southwest and undermodeled, in my opinion. Everyone wants to model the big, tall saguaro cacti when they do the Southwest, but you got to pay attention to the understory stuff, the little stuff, to have it look realistic. You need those agaves and prickly pear and stuff like that. Is it Pegasus? Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Ronald Walters, good night. Good night. Thanks for tuning in, man. David Simon, speaking of laser cutters, I'd love for you to do an episode for designing procedures for laser cut structures, layout structures. Recently purchased the X Tool D1 Pro 20 watt. I'd like to make some buildings. I have a video here on the station. all I can do is show people how I do it. I'm not familiar with everybody's processes. I'm not familiar with every kind of CAD program out there. There are a plethora, but I am familiar with Adobe Illustrator, and that's what I use to design structures for the laser. There are three things, we talked about laser last week, but there are three main things you need to know uh, for a structure, for designing building structures. Uh, the power to cut with, the percentage of power, it's usually a percent, and the time. And the third thing is you need to know the material, the thickness of the material. And I go into a lot of that in my video about designing for structures with Adobe Illustrator. It's here in the channel down below. Just go to the videos and it'll pop up. Well worth a watch if you haven't seen it. Dale Hemming, look at the Model Tech Studio werewolf, and I like the werewolves are cool. They have werewolves, they have zombies, they have some cool stuff. Agave type plant, that's them. Yeah, that's rail scale models, John. Check them out. Would you say there is a plethora? Oh, yes. Yes, you have a plethora. Plethora of Piñatas. That is from The Three Amigos. Another highly quotable classic movie. This is a little piñata, which I believe was this carved by you, Robert? Did you carve this? Bob Kerner? Okay, let me see if there's any last minute questions. See, you have a plethora. Heavy, what is a plethora? I did, but it's too small for a scale. I beg to differ, my friend. Piñatas come in all shapes and sizes. If you have a plethora, you need to have different sizes. I don't have a plethora, though. I just have the one. I need more. You want to carve me some more? Hey guys, thank you all so much for your questions and your compliments, and it's wonderful to see that. I'm so glad that you enjoy what I do here on the channel and are getting something out of it. I hope you find the projects relatively easy to follow. What I try to do is like, even if it's something that I know that you may not have the stuff to do it. I'm doing something like I laser cut all these headstones. Not everybody's got a laser cutter. I understand that. But hopefully you'll get some ideas out of it. You'll get some inspiration out of it, or you'll just, if you're like me, you just enjoy watching people make things, which I do. So I want to thank you all again from the bottom of my heart for tuning in. Thank you for watching and subscribing and showing up for these live streams. We'll do another one the third week in October, as I mentioned. Anybody else got anything before we go? Thank you all very much. Look for the podcast with Jake Johnson. We're going to talk about, like I said, the narrow gauge convention and how to do things in order, the proper order to do things when building and planning a model railroad. Look for that coming out probably next week. Until then, keep moving forward, but I can't say it. And keep moving forward, my friends. Adios for now.